Hi Friends is a podcast hosted by me, Dallas Wilson, cannabis enthusiast and Black Indigenous artist. Join me each week as I use cannabis with guests. Hi Friends is all about providing a safe, judgment-free space for Black and Indigenous folks to have a meeting of the minds. Through these herbal chats, we will be learning and gaining new tools to have healthier, healing conversations in the moment. Thank you for tuning in, and happy smoking! Hi friends! Wow. Hey girl.
Can you see me?
I can. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
I don't know.
You're so cute.
Oh my god, girl. I just need to.
Got all dressed up.
Well, I guess let's just jump into it. So normally I start, hold on. Let me get my lips are
I'm gonna light up too, so we'll start.
Perfect. Hold on. My lips feel dry as fuck. Okay, so normally I start off every episode with like eventually.
You could have told me you were gonna be so cute, because then I would have tried too. I was like,
this is so funny that you think this is cute. I literally feel like a trash monster all day today. People were just kind of like looking at me like, oh, and I'm like, maybe, what? Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so I guess I'll just jump into it. Ready? All right. Hey, welcome. And thank you for tuning into Hi Friends. Today, I'm kicking it with my homegirl, Fifi. She's based in Atlanta, and we met through a mutual friend who I used to work with in Thailand, named Sion. Shout out to Sion for introducing us. Thank you, girl. So Fifi's in Atlanta, and yeah.
In my backyard.
Yeah. What are you smoking?
I'm smoking, it's called Moon Rocks. So it's like an indica dominant hybrid. It's like 16 something percent or like 18% THC. So it's not that high of like a THC content, and a little bit of CBD too. So it's not like that loud, but you know, get the job done.
It'll get the job done. Dope. All right, today I'm on OG Kush, which is 23.9% total cannabinoids, 23.2% THC, 0.13% CBD, and it's a balanced hybrid. So there's both indica and sativa, and it's pretty balanced. So
I love OG Kush. That's like one of the go-tos, right?
Yeah, this got me geeked last night. I was talking to my housemate Chris, and we were out back, and this was the first time that I had smoked OG Kush in a while. And also I had ran out of my stash. I had just gone to Oklahoma for my cousin's wedding. And when I came back home, I had like a little bit enough to roll 1J. So I had like a 1J between when I got back and yesterday. And I was just like, ooh, I got a podcast to shoot. I got like this to do. I'm stressed. I need my herb. So I got this last night and I was geeked. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I got this yesterday too. I'm actually trying to like cut down, because I never used to be like, you know this already, but just for people's info, never used to be much of like a habitual smoker, but recently I've been using, because just like, you know, life. And it helps a lot with like anxiety and just like calming down and stuff. So yeah, I was smoking a lot lately, and I was like, wait, let me cut down, because I don't want this to be like look, I need this for
like a dependency.
Yeah, I don't want it to be like a dependency, you know.
But let me ask,
in honor of this podcast, Hi Friends, I had to light one up, you know.
Well, thank you for lighting one up. Also, shout out to anyone who wants to be on the podcast. Let it be known, you don't have to consume on the show if you don't want to, but I do appreciate it, because I personally love smoking with people. It's just like, for me, it lifts me up. So thank you.
I mean, I don't have anything against it, you know.
Yeah.
just like everything in moderation, and it's just like a personal thing for me that I wanted to cut down. So I
Heck
mean, I love it. I love when I'm high. It always makes me like calm, or I just go into like some deep like thoughts, and I'm like, whoa, I never thought about things like that before. Like,
yeah.
is that just me, or does that happen
No,
to
like
everyone?
I feel like not every time I smoke, but a lot of the times that I smoke, I have kind of like these aha moment revelations, you know?
Yeah, like I'm like I figure shit out, like
Yeah,
without stressing about it. That's the part.
exactly.
Yeah,
How someone explained it to me when they smoked was that like it kind of provides this kind of like glass barrier around you, like internally and emotionally. So it's like you can still see the things that you have to face in life, but there's a little bit of a protection with the way that it makes your body feel. And I was like, holy shit, yeah, that's like exactly it.
yeah,
Especially with me for like my diabetes and having a chronic illness, like today I was just driving around going to a doctor's appointment, an OBGYN appointment, and like my blood sugars were low this morning. So I woke up low, and that affected the whole trajectory of my day. And if I had not gotten like this OG Kush last night, if I didn't have like my medicine, herb with me, then
yeah,
I think today would have been a lot harder. I was like, when you have a low blood sugar, you're kind of like stuck in your body. Your mind is working, but it's just like you're moving through molasses. So I was so slow today. And like, even driving, like, my blood sugar was fine when I was behind the wheel, but after a low blood sugar, your body just still has like this low energy in it. So I was just like, oh, like, just so famished. And I was just kind of, when I got to the appointment, just like, I was like, thank God I was able to like smoke a little bit, because like I was a little bit more chill, like just relaxed. I think if I was completely sober, I would have been like just so anxious and like, I'm so sorry, I'm late, just so much. And
yeah.
but
No, it helps a lot.
for
So
sure. Speaking of, so every episode I start with testing my blood sugar. Right now I'm on like manual finger sticks because my sensor that I normally use, like my prescriptions, I don't know what's happening. The doctor has to like write some sort of clearance, like lift a hold so that the insurance will work. I don't know. Anyway, so I'm pricking my finger manually. Ooh, okay, everyone. 123. I don't know if it shows up backwards because it's on the camera. Like, does that look backwards?
nope.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
123. Right now, I still feel like my body has like the residue from the low from this morning. Like, I still feel like foggy brained a little bit. So if the conversation, like, I don't know, if I seem like stuck or whatever, just like understand, like my brain is like
I
catching
feel
up.
you, girl. No pressure. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So where do you want to start? I just wanted today to be like a free chat, just like a catch
Oh, where
up.
do we start? Yeah, I mean, we could start with you looking cute. I was like telling you that earlier, obviously. We need to cut this part out because I'm trying to do something. I'm trying to like figure out what to talk about, and
You're good. You're
fucked up.
good, G. So Fifi came to visit me in California, and that was a really great trip. That was the first time that you and I like spent a long time, like, together. Because the first time we met, it was in DC. You were visiting your sister. I was just recently home from
Yeah,
Thailand.
you just gotten back from Thailand, and so we just like hung out one night, right? We like went to dinner, and then we got some hookah.
Got some
Yeah,
nice.
but I think we really vibed that night, from what I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember talking about like your experiences and your dreams and your plans and just kind of like your life in Atlanta. And I just was just like, yo, I just really liked your energy. And I
Hey.
knew that because it was Sion who had introduced us, I was like, I trusted her. I texted her
Yeah.
actually and was like, girl, I'm so lonely. I was like, America is weird and hard.
Same here. I think I was telling her the same thing. So I was like going through a lot of stuff with like my friends and my friends here and stuff. So I was like, and I was just like going through a transition, like my relationship was crashing.
Yeah.
It was a crazy moment. And so like meeting you and like talking to you and connecting with someone who's like super just like kind-hearted and like listened, and like I know we shared a lot of like our experiences with like the guys we were with. It was just like super refreshing to meet someone that was just like that I felt a genuine connection with because I hadn't felt that in a while. So
There was. Let me talk about like friendship. Like, I mean, that was something that it's something that I'm still like kind of like, I don't want to say struggling. I don't want to use this word, but that's something that's still on my radar for things that I want to maybe alter in my life. Like what I had in Thailand and abroad, not just in Thailand, but other places abroad as well, was just really close, intimate connections with people that I could just be my true authentic self around as I was changing too, like, you know, because I wasn't the same person, especially
exactly.
place to place, day to day. And I met people who were accepting of that, and who were curious about my life. And I know you've had like you have close friendships and things as well, but like how has it been like this past year, especially with the pandemic and like keeping in touch with people or maybe even physically being around people? Like, do you feel like how are they doing, your friendships?
Honestly, just relationships has been challenging during the pandemic, right? Just because like social distancing, of course, and like just not being able to see people. And a lot of people were, I think a lot of people were just like going through stuff. So myself, I was like going through a bunch of stuff with like my ex-boyfriend and like family and stuff like that. And so I think like all of that just made friendships complicated. And also got to spend a lot of time alone, and like with the transition I was just like I had a with the social distancing I had a lot of time to just like reflect on life and like my relationship, my transition and things like that. And I mean, it's super important. Like one of the things I realized is like it's super important to have like quality connections with people, you know, like people that can be like your soul tribe, you know? And I feel like it was just a time for me to just like reflect and be like, who is that? You know, like who can I actually build these genuine like soul tribe type like relationships with? And with everything going on, I think like I got to see that, you know.
I was gonna
And
ask,
I
like,
also just got
so
to learn a lot about myself, you know, with the solitude, with
yeah.
like just being alone, being forced to be alone. Like I got to know myself in a different way, and like I also just got to like really evaluate my relationships, and like I have found some clarity, but it's also just been challenging because like it's change, right? Like change is not comfortable for anyone really, um, or it can be uncomfortable. So
I have
it's been
two like questions with that. So you talk about this relationship with self and spending a lot of time alone this past year. And I
yeah.
agree like that, especially during the early stages of the pandemic. Like, I don't know if you were ever in a place where you were completely alone and like staying in an accommodation. But there's a chunk of time where for 4 months I was completely alone at my dad's place. He
Mhm.
had stayed somewhere else because he didn't want to quarantine. He was working and things like that. And I was just concerned about my diabetes and health and things like that. But I think that was kind of like a new thing for a lot of people in this Western society here in America, is just kind of like slowing down to that level and focusing on yourself a little bit more. So for you, like, was that scary or was that refreshing?
So yeah, you're right. Like so earlier on, I actually didn't do that much social distancing. I was always around people. But then like with in the latter half of the pandemic, I did have a lot of time to myself, and like I mean, yeah, like I got to see like that I'm comfortable with that. Like I like my own company. Like of course it was challenging because you know, it's just I'm like used to being around people um all the time. But then like once I started spending more time and then just like dealing with life things, like getting, you really get that space to like reflect, and it makes things a lot clearer for you, I think, or like for me, that's been my experience. Like getting to learn about myself, like helped me kind of see things a little bit more clearly about what was going on around me. Um, it wasn't easy at all. Like I don't think it's supposed to be easy. Um, or yeah, but it's been a different experience. I can't point to a time where I've spent so much time alone, maybe during my childhood.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
recently it's been like the time, and I've enjoyed it. Like,
Yeah.
and I started enjoying it and started craving it at some point. And I was like, this is dope. I don't know if it's going to be permanent, but I see like the value of it, and I realized how much, like, just my like reflecting on my personality, how much it helps for me to just like be more present with myself, and then be able to be more present in my life and like the way I choose to navigate it. So,
That
does
leads.
that answer the question? I'm not sure if I
Yeah,
answered.
no, absolutely. Like I love how you describe like craving that alone time after a
Yeah.
while, after you get like acquainted with yourself, your spirit, your energy. Like once you're really in it and comfortable in that space, then it's kind of like a it's like, it sounds weird, but for me, I always say that when I first really discovered myself, it felt like I had a best friend. And like that best friend was spirit, like it was me. Like, and I was just like, oh, dope. Like I actually
That's
like,
such a, like that's such a huge thing, I think. I don't know if people get to really, if enough people get to experience that in that way.
but it's
You
scary. It
think?
can be because you have to look at your demons in order
Yeah,
to
you have to do
get
a lot of shadow work too.
shadow work.
If
Yes.
you're not
And
ready, if you're not comfortable with that, it's gonna be a challenge. Yeah.
people ask me all the time, well, what is shadow work? So I'm going to ask you, what does that mean to you? What is shadow work?
I think shadow work is, I would say, like, maybe connecting with the parts of yourself that you typically try to like push away or repress. Whether it's like childhood things like trauma, or just experiences that stick out, that have had that maybe have left, like, just left a lasting impact on you, that maybe you're uncomfortable with going to, or just like, just, I guess, like uncomfortable feelings and uncomfortable parts of yourself, like connecting with that, embracing it, learning about it, getting to know that part of you. And like, I guess people talk about like integration, shadow integration.
Or
I'm
like
not gonna
exposure
go into
therapy?
that topic because I'm like deeply, just because I'm not really like, I'm not a professional. I can't give you like all the
Yeah.
right information, but I think integration is part of the work. Like, how do you deal with that part of yourself? How are you going to move forward now? I think some people like integrate it, which is like accepting it and kind of using it when necessary, but like, so there's like working through your shadow, getting to know your shadow, like working through how you feel about it, and then like deciding what to do with it. That could be integration or some, I don't know if there's another option, but that's typically what I hear. It's like, oh, you should like try to integrate your shadow. I'm not too clear on the definition of that just yet, but I'm like, because it's still something like I'm working on, you know.
I have an example of this, maybe like, I guess like a soft example of how like shadow work for me is kind of like a mirror being put in front of you, and you are literally like looking at the parts of you that are, you don't want others to see, really. Like you're like,
Yeah,
ooh, I'm not necessarily proud of this,
exactly. Yeah.
yeah. And for
Or
me,
you don't want to see yourself.
yeah, like that true. And that is like an authentic, true part of yourself. And we can change those things about ourselves. We can
Mhm.
learn tools to kind of like
Yeah.
be healthier and like less,
Yeah.
reactive to things. But it takes time. And for me, like recently, I had gotten feedback from my ex. We're in this space now of trying to see what it's like not being in a romantic relationship. And for me, this is new. This is completely foreign because after every relationship I've had, it's kind of like be blocked and blessed. Peace out. Like I'm gonna carry on with my life. Like,
Really?
and only because I felt like all of those relationships were toxic and I didn't want to have those people in my life, nor did I have the energy to do the work to have it be a healthy friendship post breakup, you know? So with this particular person, like we're trying, like I think, and that's like a conscious choice and that's like new and unfamiliar, but something he opened up to me about was like, you know, he was like, a lot of the times when I was in that relationship with you, I felt like I couldn't bring my true authentic self to the table because of your like reactions to things sometimes, you know? And like that's totally fair. That's his reality and that's his, you know, truth. But it made me think and I was like, huh, you know,
Sorry, no one was talking to me. That's why. Sorry.
oh,
Go ahead.
I was saying you know, that's completely valid and that's like his truth. But
Yeah.
it was also, it is something for me to pay attention to if like my reactions are what do you call it? I don't know, like making people like not open up and like that kind of like shadow work. You want to think that you're like perfect or whatever, but like having any feedback that's kind of like, oh, your score is less than 10, you know? Like for me, you know, we don't have to take all of it into consideration, but it is something that I've noticed in my past as well. When you start noticing patterns, and that's also something that I feel like is really tied to shadow work is the patterns, you know, or just
Mhm.
self-work in general and growth. Like you have to start recognizing things.
Yeah, I think
And
self-growth, like shadow work is such a big part of self-growth, but it's not easy though. I
no,
think you have to come like I was gonna say, I think acceptance plays a huge part because like you have to accept those parts of yourself
I think
before you
acceptance
can
for
actually
sure.
start addressing any of it,
Before, right? Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So,
Have
or at least the possibility that you could have, a problem or like whatever it is that you're uncomfortable with. Um, but it's like for everyone, like no one is perfect. So like we all have shadows to deal with.
a
You
thousand
know what I'm
percent.
saying?
I'm at a place in life now where I'm like, we all have big ass baggage, right? Like we all have
Exactly.
baggage. Like it's going to be varying, like I guess
It's
sizes
going like
and
100%.
weight, but you kind of just have to choose who's like fucked up mess you want to like bring into your fucked up mess, really.
Right.
And then you both have to be doing conscious things, like taking the steps to heal and to kind of be making your baggage a little bit
Right.
easier to carry, you know?
Yeah. It
Yeah.
takes work. It takes a lot of work.
Have
But it's
you?
not, it's also just like a lifelong thing, right? Like it's not something you do once and you're just like, okay, yay, I'm good now.
Yeah.
It's like that. It's like an ongoing work on yourself. So,
You and I both are like fans of therapy and like talk about like our experiences with like speaking to therapists and stuff. Like right now, I'm not currently seeing someone because I'm in between insurance, but on June 4th, if they don't switch things up on June 4th, I should have a new therapist who's Black and female. And I made that a conscious choice to find someone who would understand my experiences a little bit more. If I had it my ideal way, she would be
therapist
Black,
wasn't?
female, and diabetic. Sorry, what'd you say?
I said, so your previous therapist wasn't
She was
black.
Black and female, but yeah, yeah. And I think that's why I wanted to find another one that would understand that part because like my old therapist, like she used to just like get it. Like we would even talk about like family stuff, right? And so she would
Mhm.
understand kind of like the mom dynamics in our culture or like just like certain things that I don't know, like someone outside of my culture would understand. So
Yeah, it's so important
yeah.
to,
Have
yeah,
you
because no
like,
one can, they have to be able to see you like, I mean, everybody has prejudice, but like you want them to be able to like be able to relate to your experience, understand what it feels like to be like living in your skin and, yeah. So I totally get it. Yeah, I'm kind of in, I wouldn't say I'm in between because I'm not actively searching for a new one, but I recently, um, because I was doing therapy on BetterHelp, which is like an online platform. So you pay monthly, and you get matched with a therapist. Um, and I chose a Black woman too. Like that was really important to me. So I went through a few therapists. My first one was actually a Black man, which was interesting. And he was fine. I actually really liked him. But then I was like, I was very adamant about the fact that I wanted like a Black woman.
Yeah.
So I was like, let me just switch. So I rematched with someone. And so this was my second Black woman therapist. And I actually stayed with her the longest. Like I had no problems with her. But I just didn't like the style of therapy that I think was like offered on BetterHelp. Like it's not like traditional therapy, and I think like that's kind of what I needed more of, rather than, because yeah, it's just like I just felt like we weren't going deep, and like we weren't tackling like root causes, and I was just like, okay, maybe this is just not it for me. It's not like I didn't have a good like experience with her, or she didn't help me at all. She helped me a lot, but I just like felt like I needed more, and I felt like the platform wasn't offering me that. Sorry, BetterHelp, if you happen upon this podcast.
It's okay.
And this is personal. I mean, I'm not trying to bash BetterHelp. This is just my experience. So
do you think you'll start looking for another one, or do you think you're taking a break and like kind of just
I'm just gonna like pause, because like I've been doing like haven't even been wanting to do therapy like lately. Like I just don't want to talk about my shit. And I don't know if that's like a problem, like maybe I need a therapist to talk about that with. But yeah, but I'm just like just doing meditation and just working on myself, and kind of need space from the world right now, and that includes talking to people about my problems. So I'm not really actively looking, but I probably will start soon enough. I'm sure like I'm gonna get out of this space that I'm in. So I'm gonna start looking again. Yeah.
I hope you like in this time where you're not seeing anyone, I hope that you can, I don't know, really enjoy whatever the space brings, whether that's like creating, whether that's like doing, deeper meditation, like trying new things, like traveling a bit more, or like connecting with family or not, just, I don't know, like, I think that's how I've been looking at the space in between June 4th. Like for me, I have like this, like in my head, like fireworks going off, like, yay, big day. Like I'm going to get the help that I need. Yes, yes, yes.
How's it going? Like without a counselor, like how's this?
Without someone to speak to, I'm going to be honest, I've had to like reach out to my friends and family a lot more. And I'm feeling like slightly guilty about that, only because I've had experiences in the past where I've like offloaded on friends and they've been like, Dallas, I cannot carry all of this. Like, I don't need to know about your boy problems, your family, the all that stuff. And for me, because I am a quite anxious person, everything is like a thing sometimes, and I don't know, it can be a lot. So I've been just, reaching out to friends and family, but like spreading it out. I've been trying to reach out to more people. So it's not like I'm just offloading onto like one person. But that's like also hard because like I loved the intimacy of a therapist and they were there for me. So like I didn't feel guilty ever.
Yeah, it feels nice.
After a session.
Because like I'm paying you to look who care everything. But yeah, so we're like in completely different places, I feel like in terms of how we're dealing with or coping with life, right?
With life. Yeah, that's what I was like thinking about before when you were saying how you were kind of like retreating like within. I was kind of, for me, I'm in a space of like craving more people for me to go outward, like, but
and typically that's how I am too. But I'm just like, I don't know, I'm honestly like still just figuring out what's going on with me.
Yeah.
But it's also been good. Like I feel like I've grown a lot. I appreciate the ways that I've grown. So I'm like, I
Can
know.
I ask how last year, like, can you compare some growth from since last year? Like, what are some things that you're like super like happy and proud and like, this is dope? Like, what are you?
I don't have that like I'm like, oh, this is dope type thing, but I'm just like I just like the comfort of being the comfort I like I'm happy about the comfort that I feel with just like being alone and like the sense of like independence and freedom. Like I feel like I am because I am open to relationships. I'm not like trying to be like a hermit forever. But like I like the idea of moving to like towards like relationships where I don't necessarily have so much of an attachment, but like a stronger, just like a strong connection versus a strong attachment. Does that make sense? So like
Talking
moving
about like a romantic relationship or your platonic friendship?
both, both.
Love that.
Just
Ah,
the way I like navigate relationships in general. And I like that for myself. Like I like that. And I feel like I'm getting closer to being in that zone. And it feels good. So I'm like, I'm gonna keep going.
so Fifi is a Leo fire sign. I'm a Sagittarius fire sign. And I think it's so funny because I think Leos are a little bit firmer in the fire, and I think Saggies were a little bit more like space cadet-y, like demure. Like we're not at, but I don't know. Sometimes I can be very,
I feel like we're fire in different ways. Yeah.
yeah. How would you describe your fire?
Um, intense. That maybe I would say it's intense, but it's not like outwardly intense. It's like it
Ooh.
burns deep within.
Ooh, yes. Hell yes. Oh, I would describe mine as like, oh, I feel like mine is like plasma. Like it's like also intense, but it's ever shifting. Like it can be like a
Yeah,
little
it's like a
bitty.
wild. I feel like Sagittarius are like more like wildfires, like very like it overtakes.
Yeah. There's sometimes where I surprise myself at the things that I get upset at or that the things that I like react to. And I'm just like, oh, like I
Yeah,
have to work on some things.
but it's also good because you guys are just like free spirits, right? And I feel like you guys share your fire. Your fire is more outwardly noticeable, and like you guys are able to share it more openly. So I feel like people have more access to your fire. Would you
Yeah,
say?
but I'm trying to be careful with that though. It's getting me in trouble. I want to share my fire with everyone just because I'm like, oh, I'm passionate about this and you're passionate about this. Or like, what? Sometimes I'll just like look at people and they just have like an aura that I'm like, I want to get to know you, you know?
Yeah.
But I feel like in doing that, especially since returning to the States where there's no real like language barrier for me. Like in Thailand, I wasn't able to like open up and share with people as much as I wanted to because of the language barrier. I was speaking Thai, but very basic conversationally. I couldn't get as
Yeah.
deep as I wanted. And I feel like that was something that I felt and that was like heavy for me. But now
Was
that
it like repressed and then it exploded when you got here?
yeah, yes. Like the fire was like ignited. I was meeting all these other different people, like air signs, what, like oh yeah, water signs, like other fire signs, and it's just like I just like
Yeah.
exploded, and I've just like opened myself up to everyone. But in doing so, though, like this past year has been tricky because people have also like fucked me over. And like, do you feel like you're a little bit more
Life, bro.
no, but I remember talking to you and you're like, Dallas, you cannot just trust everyone just because they're Black. You cannot just trust everyone just because they're like nice to you. You cannot trust everyone just
Yeah.
because like blah, blah, blah. And I was just like I wanted to fight against that, honestly, when we were driving in my car and you said that. I wanted to like be like, no, like I should be able to trust everyone.
No,
But
yeah.
it's
I felt
settling
bad
in.
because I was like, I knew it was like the sense of innocence in you that was like that, and I liked that about you. But then I was like, I have to protect her.
Do you
So
think that
I
like,
had to break
yeah,
it down to you, be like, Dallas, no. Yeah,
Do you think that like you have like it's easy? I don't know. Like how would you approach it? Like if you are someone like me who like, you know, wants to love everybody and wants to like engage with everybody, like how do you?
I would say manage expectations.
Mm,
That's like one of the biggest, because that's your business. Like you have to manage your own expectations. So I think it's like great to want to share your fire, but like, you know, you might not get that returned like in the
that's what
same
I'm
way.
experiencing, yeah. Or
Yeah.
noticing. More.
Yeah, in the same way or like at all, you know? And so you just kind of have to be like open to the possibility that maybe things just won't be like reciprocated or just won't turn out the way you expect, you know? So I think go in with like expectations managed already. And then be happy when you do get that like reciprocity or whatever. Like that's great. But I think it takes like some like self-discipline to like just like have manage your expectations going in. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it
That's
does.
what I would say. I don't know. That's what's helped me. Um, because I feel like you're sharing your fire probably because like you want to, you know, you see value in it, right?
Yeah. I've
So
always
go
loved
ahead.
community.
Don't hold back, but also just expectations. But go ahead. What were you saying?
Alright. I'm like stuffing my face right now. I said I always love community.
You didn't always love community?
I love community. That's why I'm
Yeah.
like
Mm-hmm.
really open to meeting
Yeah.
people and I
And you
don't know.
can still build community because it takes time, right? To like build relationships with people.
That's what I'm like
So
starting to like tell myself or
yeah.
trying to reshift my thinking is like Dallas, you are a fast burn, meaning like I go in like everything all out, like here's my heart, like what do you need? I like let's do this,
Yeah.
you know? And
Yeah.
it's
And that's lovely. I mean,
but it's
I
also
wish everybody was like that. So
but it's also intense and scary sometimes, I guess, for some people who are more of a slow burn, you know what I
right.
mean? So
Right.
I'm like learning to try to be a little bit more like it's okay to have that passion and intensity and like desire to get to know people, but to also like take the time to get to know how they are. Like do they need time, alone time? Do they like to hang out like once a week or like do they like once every month, you know, like kind of
Yeah.
thing. And, you know,
Yeah, girl.
are people texters,
But
callers, this is, you know, it's
yeah.
too many ways to communicate right now, actually. I think I'm a little overwhelmed. Like the Zoom calls, the video chats, the FaceTime, the
Yeah. It's like everybody kind of has access to you. Like you just have
ooh,
we in a way have like now with the pandemic we have less physical access to each other, but now it's like virtual access.
and through that virtual access, it's
Right?
all like, is it real? Is it, you know, authentic? Like, what is it, you know? And
Yeah, with dating too, that's like you feel like well, you've been kind of like meeting the guys really you've like been swiping on, right? So that doesn't
I
count.
was when I came back from Thailand, I was swiping hard. I was like, this is my chance to meet a vegan man and then I'll get married and have kids. Bada bing, done, 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 easy, you know?
Yeah.
And that's like I'm still in that space of wanting to find partnership. It's like not the thing that I'm like obsessed with this idea of marriage, but it's more like partnership and like teamwork and like someone who's
Mhm.
choosing to be with me and who wants to
Girl,
bring
don't we all?
yeah. And who wants to build with you know what I mean? So like
Right.
I've never had that. And like I feel like looking back and reflecting and doing shadow work and trying to step outside of relationships that I've had and reflect on like what happened in them, you know, and just kind of like I don't know if there's been that same intensity. Like I'm looking for the same fire in me, like because I'm dedicated. Every person I date, I'm like dedicated to them, you know?
Yeah.
And I was looking for
The
that
dating
online.
scene is hard nowadays. I feel like it's become, is it just me, or like has it become harder to like build, genuine connections with people? Because like maybe because it's all virtual nowadays, and then you can just swipe next if you don't like the person you're talking to now. It's like so easy to go through people these days.
To go through. Yeah, I feel like I've had like chapters of like
People don't
men
really invest because they're like, well, if I don't vibe with this person, like on to the next one. Like it's super easy, you know? Do you feel like
instead of, do you think that it would be better to like, even if you feel like you're not vibing, instead of kind of like cutting ties and like peace out on to the next, like to stay in that space to try to like build and understand each other and
yeah,
grow?
I think there is value in that. I think there's value in that. Like, or at least take the time to actually like understand the person. I haven't been doing well at this, so um not to say that like I'm doing it right, but I think it's valuable to do that. Yeah. But it's hard because it is easy to just be like, nah, next.
Yeah, yeah. Be blunt
Like,
and blessed.
why would
Yeah.
yeah.
And
I've
I think,
actually, but go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think especially when you're protective of your energy, and that's like a space that I'm in now. I'm like,
Yeah,
actually, I'm realizing
exactly.
the loveliness of my energy, and I'm like,
Yeah.
the only
It's
way to
crazy.
protect it, really, or to like keep it shining
Mhm.
without the influence of other dark forces and energy vampires or whatever, is to just kind
Yeah.
of like move on, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I'm on that same self like journey too. So
Yeah.
that's why it's been hard. But I'm like, isn't that dangerous? Like I feel like that's dangerous for us to be connecting in that way, like in such a superficial way. Like what's gonna happen to like human relationships since everything is just like especially dating, I guess romantic relationships. Like how do
Yeah.
we build that connection if it's like so easy to just like move on to the next one,
Well,
you
we
know?
have to like, I think
So
it,
sometimes I fear that. Yeah. Go ahead.
yeah, that's a valid fear to have, especially when you've experienced things with like meeting people online and then like I don't know, like then it's, yeah, then it that ends and then you have like another chapter and like talk to someone for a couple weeks and then they like change their mind all of a sudden. You're like, oh, like I thought I knew you, you know?
Yeah.
Like it sucks. I think for me, I'm in a great place for self right now because I'm not on the dating apps. I don't have Tinder. I don't have Bumble. I
Oh,
don't
you don't.
have
Okay.
Vegly Grazer. I used to, but now I don't. I don't. They're not. I don't. Made a conscious choice to like after the last guy I met from Bumble and dated him for a little bit. I was like, I want to meet people in real life, in
Yeah.
person, and I'm in a space now where it's actually kind of hard. It's intimidating. Like I'm even struggling like looking people in the eyes, and I don't know why. I'm like,
It's hard though, because it's like we've been masking up this for like over a year now, wearing masks, like staying socially distant and stuff. And then all of a sudden we're like, now I'm like actually hanging out with people without masks. And I'm like, this is weird, you know? Like, do you feel like that's like I feel like we've just been so distanced from each other. Like it's kind of like reverse. It's almost kind of like a culture shock, when you like go into a different culture and you're like, whoa, I didn't know like this was happening.
I think it
Um,
like
I don't know if
imprinted
it's
in me when it was kind of like this like instilled paranoia of others, like, you know what I mean? Like I think there's a part of the pandemic where I was just like assuming everyone was just riddled with COVID. I was like, who knows, maybe I have COVID, like we're all riddled with it, so I should act
yeah. And
accordingly.
everyone is just like so anxious about it.
Yeah,
You don't know like if that person's comfortable or
right.
and you're like, wait, am I
Yeah.
comfortable? Like, because it takes time to adjust to like a new norm,
Right. It's like, should
It's
I
like,
ask them? And like, I mean, so I've started doing Postmates, like not frequently, but I was doing it the other day and I was dropping off in an apartment complex that had an elevator and there was a lady in there and she was like, I guess taking her dog out for a walk and she wasn't wearing a mask. And she was just like talking and telling me about her dog and I had my mask on and like, that's just something that I do. Like I just wear my mask everywhere in public right now just because I want to feel safe. But if I'm with people that I know, or like out in public in like a spaced out outdoors area, you know what I mean? Then it's like a little bit different. Like I've been camping and then I've not worn a mask and stuff like that. But in the elevator, she was just like talking, and then she stopped and was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Like I should put my mask on." And I was just like, I mean, you're fine, dude. Like, I mean, you've been talking this much, like, we're good. It's fine.
Or like for me, like just like meeting new people is weird too. Like I went to a friend's birthday lunch this past weekend, and like she had a bunch of like people I didn't know, and I was like, yo, like I feel a little anxious about this social, like being social, because I haven't been social with like new people in so long.
Like, what do you talk about? Like,
yeah,
like what do you talk
like
about?
I forgot how to be social, small talk and stuff like that. Like I haven't done that in a while, you know?
It's like a skill you have to exercise for sure, you know?
Yeah. So I was like a little nervous going in, but I mean it turned out like fine. But I was just like, wow, like what has COVID done to like our social relationships and like social skills and stuff? Like just the way we relate to each other.
Did you get anyone's Instagram or phone number?
Yeah, I mean, I connected with people like on Insta. I feel like people do like social media connections more now. Like even guys were like, "Oh, what's your Insta?" instead of being like, "What's your number? Can I get your number?" I was like, "Is that the new thing now? We don't ask for numbers anymore?"
Yeah, I think I've evolved from like, I feel like if I'm texting you, then it's like, hey,
it's real.
Like it's intimate. Like I know you.
That's a new level nowadays, right? Yeah. Like I have your number.
But I also kind of like, sometimes I do like just talking on the phone. I've had some like connections with guys I've met on these dating apps, and like part of the getting to know you phase, kind of like the courting. And that's what I like. I like the courting phase. And it's not like, there's no rules for it. It's all up to you how you want to be courted, and like, you know, how you want to do it or whatever. But like, there's been a couple times where guys have like called me like into the morning, like we've had like late night, like, you know, just like in bed, like, and I'm just like talking, and I'm just like, holy shit, that was intimate. Like I knew, like, not something.
It's nice though. Actually, I think I told you this the other day when we were talking, but like there is this one dude who like I matched with on Bumble, and he asked for my number on Bumble, and so I thought he was gonna like text me. He called me, and I was like, whoa, I was like taken aback by that. I was like, oh, you still call people?
Yeah.
Like for the first conversation, that's different. And you know, I'm like all hermity and stuff right now, so I was like, oh, I don't know about this. But then it was just like nice to just like talk to someone on the phone again. Like,
yeah, to hear a voice. Like right now I'm in a space like hearing a voice is very intimate to me. I'm like, oh
yeah, like having verbal conversations, especially like with guys, like it's nice. But yeah, so this dude actually, like I guess like I'll talk about him because
did you
because like I don't like, I do want to talk to people and like make connections, like I said, but this is kind of an example of like just being like, well, on to the next one, because we've had like 2 solid conversations so far, and like I definitely feel like he's cool and stuff. There's just like one, like I feel like he's like a very strong misogynist, you know, he has very strong like misogynistic tendencies, like the comments he would make about women and stuff, and I'm like,
so can we have some examples? So that
like last night I was talking to him and I was like, I really didn't like what you said, like that offended me, like what the hell? And then he was just like, yeah, this is exactly what I mean, you know, women, blah blah blah, and he just like kept talking, and I was like, first of all, like, so you're just gonna keep going, like you're not gonna pause and be like let's talk about how you're offended, you know, like that bothers me. First of all, the comment you made bothers me, and second of all, the way you're like reacting to my voicing that bothers me, you know. And so I was just like, I don't want to talk to you anymore, like bye. Like
did you
I was like,
end it?
I tried like not to end it like that. Like I tried to explain myself a little bit more, but he just wasn't doing anything to like rectify the situation at all. So I was like, he just kept pissing me off more. So I was like,
What had he said that initiated your?
we were talking about just like what did he say about, and he said something about how women feel entitled nowadays, or people, he was like, yeah, people, I was like, a women entitled? What are you talking about? I was like, how do you mean? Like, can you explain that? Because up to that point, I had agreed with everything he was saying. So I was like, cool, cool. Like, we're vibing. Like, I like what you're saying until he said that. And I was like, wait, I don't think I agree with you on that. Like, can you elaborate more? And he was just like, yeah, women just like think that they can like have it all and um and still want you to just like do X, Y, and Z for them. I don't remember the details of everything he was saying, but I was like, what do you mean? Like they can't have it all. We can't have it all.
And we
And
should want to, not that I don't like to use the word should, but like if we
if we
desire
want to
to
have it all, like
have
we should,
everything
like
we
why are
want.
you mad about that? Like
Yeah.
that's not entitlement. What do you mean?
And for me,
And
I see that as like the toxic masculinity. For him to talk about that or to say, to have that stance, it almost feels like it's like he's like, how dare you? The audacity that women think this way for themselves.
exactly. I was like, so yeah,
You don't
I felt
deserve.
the same
Yeah.
way. So I was just like, what are you saying? And then he was just like, what did he say to my reaction? He just kept going on, and I was like, I just told you that I'm like offended about what you said, and you are just gonna keep going. Like you're not even gonna ask me like why. Let's talk about it. Let me understand you. Let me explain myself more. Like none of that. And I was like, all right, deuces. Um, and I was like, wait, is that me just being like, am I calling it off too early? Like, should I still keep talking to him to see if, like, because everything else was cool except for that. So I'm like, I don't know if I did the right thing by just like ending the conversation there. But yeah, what do you think? What do you think about the situation?
I think
Do
that
you
could
think
be
my
an,
situation is valid? My
yeah.
reaction?
I think how you felt in that moment and your reaction in that moment was valid for that moment, right? But here we
Yeah.
are in a different moment. And I feel like what you can do after you've had time to think about it, which you said you talked to him yesterday, last night, I think it could be an opportunity for you to be like, okay, how interested am I in getting to know this person and getting to understand where he's coming from and to like be understood, because I mean you tried once, but like when you were trying to understand him and also explain where you were coming from, it could have been heated a little bit. And for me, I always say I give things like 3 chances. Maybe that's too many, but 3 chances. Like, so even when it comes to like a conflict with someone, like the conflict will happen, I'll try to like, mediate in that moment or whatever, like, discuss in that moment. And then I like to follow up. So that's like time 2. After the follow up, like, maybe there's a third time, like, but after that, like, there's no point. After things, I don't know. Like, I feel like after a while, you're like,
Yeah, but he said something that was just like, in my opinion, just like so ignorant, and like his attitude was so passive about the way
yeah,
I felt, and I was like, or like next,
yeah,
and I'm like,
name.
is that the fact that I have access to people like just like in the palm of my hand, it's like distorting my valuation of like people's time, like it's like I don't know. I don't know if that's what's going on. Like, if in another world, would I have just like kind of overlooked this or like, you know, not reacted as intensely?
I
Um,
think the more educated I get and the more understanding I get and the more like life lessons I learn as I get older or whatever, just kind of like I don't know if like being like woke is like the right thing, but I love saying it. Like, I
yeah,
don't know if the more that happens, like
yeah,
the easier it is for for me to get like angry at things or to react to things just because you're like, no, but come on, like how do you not understand like how fucked up this is?
Yeah, like, and how much of that of like, okay, when you disagree with someone, how much of it should you tolerate? Are there things that are just like complete deal breakers versus things that are, that we can maybe like talk more about and see where we can find a middle ground, And I feel like, yeah, what are some like deal breakers for you? Like things
Boom.
that,
Okay, so now I'm firmly in this. I need to be with a vegan man. So I'm not talking about plant-based as far as diet. I'm talking about vegan, like the way that he thinks and the way that he lives his lifestyle. I say this and I throw that into the universe, and I have never, I feel like, been with someone who's truly vegan. I've been with like a lot of guys who are like, I'm vegan, and they're actually just plant-based. Like the vegan part of it is not there. And like, yeah, so I feel like, I'm throwing this out into the universe, and I feel like if I actually receive it, I don't even know if I'll know what to do with myself, but that's kind of like a deal breaker. My ex was a vegetarian, and so clearly he wasn't vegan, and I opened myself up to that,
yeah,
and so I'm trying not to do that anymore.
yeah.
Other deal breakers are like, if they don't believe in feminism, like, like
Yeah, I
we
feel like
are.
this is a deal breaker issue. So I'm like, I was trying to get your like take on that. Do you think like feminism or like toxic masculinity, do you think like those topics that are a little bit more, I guess, like more deeply entrenched in our culture and in our like mindsets, our psyche, the way we see the world, like on a grand level, do you think those are things that we should put up for discussion, or do you think that it's one of those things that we should just be like, nah? Because for me, I feel like it's just like no, like I don't.
There's no ifs, ands, or buts. If you do not believe that like women and men are, deserve equal respect, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Equal
So we're on the same page.
life chances, you know what I mean? Then
Yeah.
yeah. And I've met a lot of people within the Black community who don't feel the same way that I do. And it's hard, for me, I would really love to have a Black partner, but I'm also open to anyone and everyone. I love anyone and everyone, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I would love to be able to be with someone and have like a teamwork relationship with someone from my community. Like, I just think that there's something really beautiful about that and having Black love. And, but I cannot be with someone who doesn't think that they don't have to respect me the same way,
Yeah, I think like I'm just like, yeah, you have to be a feminist or
Yeah.
a womanist. Or, like, I feel like it's one of those things.
Love your
But, like,
sunglasses, by the way.
hmm?
I said I love your sunglasses, by the
Thank
way.
you. They're not sunglasses, they're prescription, but like,
Oh,
they what is it called? They transition.
oh yeah. I
Excuse me.
What else can we talk about? Where's your
I don't know. Maybe we should. How long have we been going?
I don't know.
I
That
feel like
was
it's been over an hour now,
for sure.
but
Probably. Okay, that's all
you
good.
want to like tie it up in a knot and just kind of end it. We can still talk, but I don't
Yeah,
like
yeah.
record.
After this, let's still talk. Okay, cool. Well,
We can,
thank
we
you
can
so
talk about if we need to do this again. You need to give this one another run or something.
That's fine. That'd be great. And we could just like be like a recurring guest. That'd be awesome. I want to know, like, I guess what you've been, or okay, I'm stoned as fuck, girl.
Yeah, and now I can tell. I was thinking about rolling up another, but I was like, let me not. I want to be able to still like have a coherent conversation.
After
But
this,
you're good.
roll up with me.
Yeah.
Okay, so how can our listeners and viewers and watchers, how can they like find you online, or do you want them to find you online, or
Sure. Yeah, you guys can find me online. I'm not really too big on social media, but if you just want to follow me on Insta, that's the one I'm the most active on. It's Fikr_love. That's FIKR_LOVE because my name means love in Amharic. Um, so follow me on there and thank you for having me.
Thank you, Fifi. Okay,
Okay,
bye.
bye.
And that's the show. I hope you liked it. Bye, friends.